Hello friends, welcome to Exampur. I hope my voice is audible clearly, screen is visible. Whether everything is set or not, please do let me know about the same so that I can proceed with the session. Okay. So, what we were discussing yesterday regarding the industrial overview, I have just told you about certain policy frameworks. Whenever we do talk about any policy, what do we mean by this point? And why we are required to make the transformation in the framework? Whenever we do make the changes in the framework, means you have to go for new rules and regulation that is coming under the consideration of new policy. Why we are required to do so with the passing time? We have to know about the reasons. We are going to discuss the reasons. What is the reason behind new resolutions? And next point is all about what is our objective to make the transformations under these perspectives. Last is totally regarding the industrial policy. Industrial policy we are going to study. Industrial policy we are going to study the background 1948, 56, 77. What was the condition at the time of 1990? We are going to study the condition for 1990 and then the major transformation which we have faced in the year 1991. We have discussed these kind of things in the last lectures, but we are going to take a complete overview regarding the same. I'm just going to take a glance of yesterday in 5 or 10 minutes. Then we are going to proceed what is the current situation going forward and what is the current situation where we need to make this some way forward procedure, what we are required to make the challenges, make the changes. So policy do take place. Policy, it's a kind of framework, and framework needs to take place on the basis of data analysis, and data is totally based on the past experience we have faced. Getting my point? The framework could be prepared out of the data analysis. Next point is all about reasons. What is the reason why we always require in order to come out of the deficiency wherever we are lagging behind, wherever we are showing the underutilization of the resources or the mismatch in the resources. Mismatch in the resources means wherever our balance sheet is getting disrupted or balance of payment is going in deficit transformation, we need to make changes in these kind of situations. We are trying to accommodate these things. Objective is to make the optimum utilization of resources and to increase the competitive base on global scenario, so that we could represent in any of the sector and we can show our monopoly, we can show our presence on the global strata, global periphery. Okay, we have discussed these kind of things. These are the reason of making new policies, whether it be about any time. Next point is all about 1948. Whenever we do think of the policy 1948, industrial policy resolution for the year 1948, which has talked about the mixed economy. What do we mean by mixed economy? What do we mean by mixed economy? Mixed economy is the mix of socialist plus capitalist. Capitalist means, capitalist economy means this is going on the basis of market forces. What is market forces? Demand and supply. Demand and supply. Market forces has to work according to the demand and supply forces. Number two, social concern has to make the intervention of government in order to establish the welfare aspects, in order to make the accomplishment of welfare aspect. Getting my point? This is the, for the first time we have faced with the term mixed economy, we are going to follow. Next point is all about 1956, industrial policy. Industrial policy 1956. It is considered as economic constitution of India. Plus, we are taking a kind of, we are using it as the basis for the policy framework. Getting my point? We have to use a kind of framework in order to make establishment of the policy. Getting my point? If you have to make new policy framework, obviously you need to refer something. Since you have to refer something, means you need to take the help of basic framework. Basic framework, it would be considered as basic framework in order to make new policies. Consider as basic framework. And there was so much of restriction. We have given focus on small sectors, small scale sectors, small scale units. Why is it so? In order to generate employment. So this is the glance for 1956. Okay, next point is all about industrial policy. Industrial policy 1977, which has made the classification, of small scale units. Small scale units. Restriction over the monopoly. Restriction over the monopoly. Reserved certain sectors. Sectors for large scale or the small scale industries, where large scale industries are not allowed to do work. Getting my point? These are the pointers for the industrial policy 1977. These are the key pointers. Reserved certain sector for small scale units where large scale industries are not allowed. Getting my point? This was the glance I have given yesterday regarding the same. Next point over here about the MRTP. MRTP 1980. MRTP is what? Monopoly restrictive trade practices. Here we are talking about private monopoly, not the central monopoly. There is difference between both the monopolies, first of all. Second of all, this is monopoly can be established by acquiring the market base, large market base. Getting my point? This has to get restricted. Restricted in what way? In case of restricted in case of expansion. In case of expansion, if you are taking permit, you are taking, matlab you are required to take permits. Permits means government approval. Getting my point? You have to take the government approval. If you have to make expansion in your industry, then you have to take the approval of the government that I am extending my business, I am making the expansion in my business. Please give me this possibility to make expansion. Trade is all about business. Trade is all about the industries and practices, whatever practices are taking place. So we are trying to make the restrictions over the large scale. Whosoever is trying to occupy the market, whosoever is trying to acquire the market, we have to make the restriction over those players. Why is it so? Why is it so? This is in the question mark perspective. Why is it so? Because small scale industries are the reason of generating more and more employment. But these monopoly practices, these monopoly restrictive measurement has to be undertaken because these large scale sectors are capital intensive and these are not giving enormous employment opportunity the way they are making the contribution in the production part. Getting my point? There is so much of inequality between the ratio of expansion which they are contributing in the production and they are not making inclusivity factor, means they are not providing the employment part. So we are trying to make the restriction over it. Ajit, hello, Jai Hind. Getting my point? So what is the reason? Because this is capital intensive sector. Mostly intensive sector. This is the reason behind it, why we are making the restriction over the practices. Next point is all about, I have already let you know about the further transformation of 1980. Next point is all about what was the condition? What was the condition taken place in 1990. First of all, you have to know about the deficit. Deficit is about you are required to make payments. You are required to make payments to other countries. BOP deficit I am talking about. Deficit in the form of BOP. You were not having access. You do not have the access of even 10 days crude oil. You were not even in state to make the repayment for 10 days crude oil which you have imported from the Middle East countries. Getting my point? This is the point, like you have to make the repayments for the imports you are making from the other countries and you do not even had the access of what the payments you have to make for the imports. Not even for the 10 days. So you had to take help from the IMF which has denied to given the support during the debt time period, because like IMF has to make the outlook and projections whether you are in capacity to make repayments or not. If you are not in that state, the IMF would get forced to deny. Getting my point? The same situation is going just now in case of Sri Lanka. So if we have to make the repayments, what is the deficit situation? You have a lot to make. you have a lot to make expenditure, like you have made a lot expenditure which is greater than the income you have, resources you possess in your economy. And where did you make these expenditures? In the 1980s, somewhere you got liberalized. You have gotten liberalized during that time period. You tried to become technological upgraded, and you are already aware about the fact that technology takes a lot resources. Getting my point? These are so expensive in base. If you are making expenditure on technology in 1980s, you are liable to make repayments, obviously. So in the end of the 1980s, means at the time of 1990, you have increased the BOP deficit in such a segment that no country wanted to make dealing with you, because you were in crisis the way we are in today's time, the way we are facing right now. In case of a world scenario, developing countries, every developing countries are facing the crisis problem and the rupee depreciation, and many of the problem they are facing out of the exogenous effect. What was the curable and what was the solution we can make out of the segment? Like if you have to come out of the deficit, we have to come out of the deficit problem in 3 ways. If I have to make the payment, like expenditure is greater than the income, resources I possess, I only have 50 rupees, but I have made expenditure of 100 rupees. Getting my point? How would I pay rest 50 rupees out of that segment? You need to know about that. LPG. These 3 parameters we have undertaken during that time lag in 1991. Just to come out of this situation. In order to overcome this situation, we have to undertake such kind of like resolutions or such kind of steps in order to come out of the situation. Next point, liberalization means you have to share the burden. You have to share the burden with private investors. Private investors. How would you do so? You need to think about if you have to share the burden with the private investors. In case of funding, you can take the subheading funding, whether it be about funding or it be about employment generation. In both the sense, you can make sharing with the private investors. Then how would you let this happen? How can you make this happen? You need to understand this. You need to make the ease in the legal mandates. You need to make the restriction-free policies. You need to make the restriction-free policies. Restriction-free means, restriction-free framework means you need to make certain segment, you need to make certain industry liberalized so that private investor could work in that field. Getting my point? So this is the parameter which has been undertaken under the liberalization parameter. This is privatization. This is how I can perform. Obviously, if this is just to share the burden. Privatization, how would it help with the deficit problem? Like if I have spent 100 rupees but I have only 50, how would I make repayment of 50 rupees? Either I can just say I have this much of plot, I have this much of land. You can just take 30% part of this land. If I'm selling this 30% part, obviously you are going to give returns. You are going to give returns out of this sell. You are going to make repayments. If you are making repayments, I am going to use this repayment just to solve this problem. Out of this 30% which I have sold to you, this repayment is going to make solution for this 50 rupees which I am liable to make payment in this condition. I hope this is very much understood. If this is not so, you can raise any question regarding the same. Getting my point? This is the way of selling the things. These are taking. I am going to discuss the detail of disinvestment as well. In order to take a brief glance, I am just letting you know about the concept. Privatization is just to sell. It's just to sell the portion of asset which make returns or repayments. You can take it as any way. Repayments. Globalization. Globalization. What do we mean by globalization? I am just saying I am having further crisis, BOP crisis with any of the countries. Suppose it be about USA and Middle East countries from where I am making import. Suppose I am making import from UAE on larger amount. Saudi Arabia, Iran, these are the major exporter of crude oil. So if you are making the crude oil export from these countries and you are liable to make repayments, how globalization can be taken into the consideration by giving your investment, by giving a kind of investment permission of your own country, like USA is making permission. You are providing the permission to other countries to make investment in your country. Getting my point? That would be known as FDI. Another medium, you can take the loan facility. Another medium, FPI, you can take it as like if other economy is selling their security, if other economies are having a lot bonds, securities and other measures which are raising the returns. Getting my point? If we are giving bonds, if we are making it free, obviously our bonds has to be purchased by other countries as well. If they are purchasing our asset, if somebody is purchasing my phone or that phone is stock, if somebody is purchasing my phone, what do you mean by that purchasing? They have to make the repayments out of that purchase. I am giving phone to them, they have to make repayments to me. Getting my point? I am earning inputs, I am earning money out of that selling. If they are purchasing the bonds, security, shares, derivatives, whatever it be about, that would be considered under the foreign portfolio investment. Foreign portfolio investment. Getting my point? So these are the further procedure. If I am allowing other country to make investment, if I am allowing other country to make portfolio investment, any of the other medium, if they are making investment in our country, we do already have share of jameen or the land where they can make the investment. The way Vodafone has made establishment in our country, they have to make the investment. In order to make investment, they have to make payments to our country as well. Obviously, so that repayment is going to cover this cost or cover this crisis, because we are also liable to make repayments due to the BOP crisis. I hope this is very much understood. This is how we can overcome such kind of situation. Okay, so these are the glance what I have made yesterday. So today we are going to discuss the new pointers. Just a glance, 1948, private sector is not taking place till here. This is the economic contribution, economic constitution, 1977 and 1980, the monopoly restrictive trade policies. Nobody was allowed to make expansion, like restrictive policies were there in order to limit the production, 77 to 80. And 1990 situation has gone worse, BOP crisis. I have already told you about the reasons. And 1991 failed to promote the small scale industries because we have made the inclusion of private sectors, and private sectors are nowhere concerned about the welfare criteria. Okay, private sector are nowhere concerned about the small scale or welfare criteria. Okay, these are the steps which has to be undertaken. Or I would say that amendment to the MRTP that has taken place in 2002 Competition Act, it has replaced the MRTP. Competition Act has replaced MRTP. Why is it so? Because private investors were taking place, and private investors has to make competition, or competition generates the fuller exploitation of resources, and that exploitation is making the efficiency and contribution would go higher. Okay. Way forward, industrial policy. Way forward, out of these policies we have studied. You need to know these policies are socialist pattern in 1956 to the capitalist pattern, because we have shifted from the socialist pattern to the capitalist pattern as we have made the inclusion of private sector on wider scale. The more inclusion of private sector is there, means we are moving towards the capitalist sector. Means the more, if you are making the privatization in the sectors, means capitalization is strengthening in the economy. The same scenario is there in today's condition. Next point is all about India now has much liberalized industrial policy. Why is it so? Because every economy is talking about ease of doing business. Every economy is talking about ease of doing business. Every economy is making their countries liberal in the code of conducts. Whatever legal mandates has to be come across in order to make establishment of any business. If you are making easiness, or if you are making ease during that process, obviously investor would get encouraged to make investment. Okay, they will feel encouraged to make investment, means liberalized industrial policies has transformed them. And one of the segment of ease of doing business which relate with the bankruptcy insolvency code, like the what kind of situation investors do face. So such kind of things has to be considered under this scenario. Continue to remain the challenges like shortage infrastructure problems will remain be a problem. You need to strengthen the infrastructure base. Are we doing anything important just to make strengthen and just to increase the base for the supply chain? Yes, we are making the changes in the name of PM Gati Shakti. We are making the upliftment in one project named PM Gati Shakti, which is trying to make addition in the infrastructure curriculum for every single sector, because infrastructure is the base for every segment of the economy, be it about agriculture, industrial, service, quaternary. Every sector would require electricity, energy to work with. And what are the core areas where infrastructure is based on? That is connectivity. Connectivity is totally making reliance on the transportation and the communication. These two are the core part, be it about any sector. So you need to make the key points that infrastructure is totally making reliance on the connectivity. Connectivity is based on transportation, like transportation and the communication are complementary to each other. No transportation could take place without any conversation. Okay, if you are not making any dealing with anybody, you are not going to make any transportation of product and services. Okay, So there is need for new industrial policy to boost the manufacturing sector in the economy. We can discuss this point in detail. Like in current update, what is the situation of current scenario? What is the situation of current scenario? The major concern of our economy was, I would say was, because we are running in different situation now, that is beyond the pandemic and beyond the other crisis. We were about to make upgradation, or we were about to make revival in growth rate. How would we make it? How we have thought on such kind of aspect. We have given a thought on this point. Revival in economy, we were trying to make the upgradation in income, but without employment opportunities. Employment opportunity is going to make the inclusivity factor. Employment opportunity is going to include, like it is making concerned with the inclusivity factor, welfare segment, or the welfare aspect. And income is totally related to the growth. If both the things are going hand in hand, it is going to make the indicator for prosperity. What we are trying to make here is, we are trying to loosen the burden. We are trying to loosen the burden on agriculture sector by shifting the labors towards industry, where we are already lagging behind. Okay, industries are already lagging behind. Manufacturing segment is weak. Manufacturing segment is still weak. We need to do work in these parameters. Now, how can we make a shift of labor towards the industrial sector? You need to understand this. And how can we loosen the burden on agriculture and manufacturing sector, which is running weak? How can we make the exploration in this segment? Whenever you heard the word exploration, things should strike your mind with the word research and development. Research and development is totally related to the innovation. You need to make the interlinkage between research and development, innovation, with the higher education segment. This is going to bring inclusivity. This is going to increase access. I am just going to tell you the meaning simultaneously. Innovation means to increase the access. And higher education means education is spreading the awareness. Education is increasing the awareness, which increase inclusivity, which increase the involvement of people. Getting my point? Which increase the involvement of people. These are the basic point. If you are making the interconnectivity between these two areas, innovation and the higher education, you are preparing the skilled personnel. Okay? You are preparing the skilled personnel to, which are making preparation, like which are making contribution in the industrial sector, including manufacturing, one, where we are lagging behind. Suppose if you are making the interconnectivity between the innovation, you are making research and development, trying to assess the weakness, and if you are working on that weakness and making the correlation with the higher education, skilled personals are coming out of the picture, and these skilled personals are going to add in the productivity. How would they add? Large ideas has to be accommodated out of the research and development. Large ideas has to be accommodated with the help of innovation programs. If you are not able to do so, you can take the help of foreign countries and other countries who are doing so good. You can learn from those countries. You might have seen the movie Nambi, like rocketry movie, where Nambi is learning about the technology, where he is learning about the technological upgradation from France. In rocketry movie, you might have seen that he is learning the things from France, and out of that learning, they are making their own establishment. They are making their own new ideas out of that learning. If I'm getting trained out of any segment, I have to come up with new approaches, and those new approaches could make contribution in the industrial sector where we are slow on pace. But if we would be able to accommodate, if we would be able to acquire the goal of making success in manufacturing sector, it would give a kind of relief to the agriculture sector. By losing the burden of employment opportunity, that is totally making reliance only on the agriculture sector. You could have made contribution in the manufacturing sector by making your personnel skilled. How can you make your personnel skilled? By acquiring learning, and out of that learning, you would be able to get the new ideas, and that new ideas are going to expand the base. That is going to explode the base for the manufacturing unit. You have to make it because you are so much abundant in the labor force. If you are upgraded, or if you will be upgraded in technology, if you will be upgraded in the idea regarding the whatever learning you are learning from, and in order to make the exploration in manufacturing, and you are using the resources where you are already abundant. Getting my point? You are abundant in the labor force. You have to use your labor force where you have to use it, where you can share the labor force. That is with the manufacturing sector. This is very, very, very important part. Next point is all about, I have just talked about the disinvestment point. Disinvestment, what do you mean by the disinvestment? Renaming and restructure of the Department of Disinvestment by the Finance Ministry in 2016 and 17 budget speech. And Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. This is the point. Like, we are not only making, what do we mean by this department name? You need to understand this. Whatever disinvestment you are making, suppose this is government property. If government is selling this much of property, out of the selling, government is earning returns, and these returns would be utilized in making addition of public asset only, in making addition of welfare only. These returns are going to help the public perspective only. These are going to make the contribution in the public periphery only. That is what that is what is the meaning of the Department of Investment. Whatever disinvestment is taking place, return which is inculcating out of that segment, we are going to use that return for the welfare of public. That is the major meaning of this department name. I hope this is better understood. If this is not so, please do give, like you can ask the query in the comment. Aim of the DPAM. DPAM, Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. We are going to manage the public asset in a very efficient manner so that resources could be utilized fully. Okay, so our management, efficient management, our goal is to manage the things efficiently, and investment in the equity, disinvestment in central public assets. These are the mandates, and you are already aware about the point. If we are selling the assets, like in order to come out of the situation, suppose I am in crisis, I have to make the payments, I am in debt to GDP ratio, I have to make repayments. How would I make repayments? By earning it, by selling my assets, I can take it as I have to sell the asset so that I can get return, and that return could be utilized to make repayments for our debt. I'm just telling you regarding the disinvestment timeline, what this is all about. At the time of pre-1970, there was least bothered condition, or you would say there was not there was least presence of private investors, because that was the license era, there was the restriction era. You had to face certain restrictions in order to make entry in the market, plus in order to make expansion in the production part, you have to go with the restrictive parameters before the 1990. Okay, but after in 1990, you have faced BOP crisis. I have already explained about the BOP crisis. You have to pay a lot. Like BOP crisis means you have to make repayments to the other countries. In order to come out of this situation, what you have done is 20% disinvestment in PSU. 20% means you were just selling the 20% portion of the PSU, public sector undertakings. You were selling these public sectors and you were earning out of the sell. Obviously, I am selling to you, you have to make repayments to me. I am selling my 20% assets to you and you have to make repayments, and that repayments would be utilized to accommodate this situation, BOP crisis. Okay. Next, 1991 era of LPG and industrial policy, things has gone liberalized. We have started working on the ease of doing business. We have started working on the ease of doing business, making towards the road of liberalization. 1992-93, investor base was expanded to include FII, invested institution, foreign investor institutions. We are talking about PSU employees, banks. Means we have largened up the base wherever public sector undertaking is involved, and we are trying to sell the segment which is running inefficiently, which is running under the losses, whatever things we are doing right now. Next point is all about Rangarajan. Rangarajan has given the limit for the 49% disinvestment in PSU's reservation for public sector, because after 49 or after 50%, if we have given the rights to the private sector to make control, ownership will go in the hand of private sector. Till 50%, nobody is liable to make decision. If you are making the contribution beyond 50% or 51 it is making, you will get the decision making power, which should not happen in case of private sector, because private sector motive is always to acquire more and more profit, not to attain the welfare scenario in the economy. I hope this is better understood about it. And 74% disinvestment in all other PSUs. Getting my point? PSUs reserved for the public sector and other 75%. So setting up of like department was already there. Now there has taken place. This investment commission has taken place in the year 1996. Okay. Then Department of Disinvestment has taken place in the year 1998. situation is going into the picture since 1991. Rangarajan has given a reservation. Then 1996 commission has taken place, and out of that commission, demand like Department of Investment has taken place during the 1998-2000 by the Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So the things has been classified in the name of strategic and non-strategic segment. Strategic segment which has to be reserved under the government authority, and non-strategic sector which could be controlled by the private segment. Means where we can make the entry of private people. Getting my point? Where we can make the entry of private people. Yes, you can make investment over here. You would make your presence in such kind of sectors. But in case of strategic sector like communication, like defense and things which are related to security segment, atomic energy, we cannot allow the private sector to work. These are reserved, these are strategic in nature. You would require government approvals and all. So these were restricted during the time lag. In 2004, UPA government adopted the minimum programs. Revive. You have to just take the help of. Disinvestment only for the sick companies. What do you mean by sick companies? Which are running under the losses. In order to come out of the losses, you can just give in the hand of private entrepreneurs so that they could perform better. At least they could make the funding out of it. Getting my point? These are the prior bases. Sick countries, like suppose I am earning 100 rupees. If I am not making investment, I should not even bearing the 10 rupees loss even, because this is going to reduce my income level. So this is the unwanted loss which continuously Indian government was bearing during that time lag, and private investors could have made contribution in the segment which could result in the efficient. We could make the incentivized policies in the bidding processes or in the purchasing segment, so that efficient utilization of resources could take place and burden of the government could get released. Next point is all about 2005, 75%, whatever earning we are getting out of the selling of the public assets, whatever earning we are coming, whatever earning we are getting out of the disinvestment, we have to spend 75% for the social sector and 25% for the capitalization of PSUs. 25% proceeds of the capitalization we have to use for the PSUs in order to make the capital formation, we can say. Next point is all about 2005 to 9. Disinvestment will remain stagnant due to the collusion, and 2005 revival of the disinvestment policy in 2009 and 10. Then 2005, 11 to 14, disinvestment process slowed down. No disinvestment has taken place during the lag. And after the 2014, we have announced the different name. We have renamed the Department of Disinvestment, that like if UPA government has made the contribution in the name of 75%, you have to make contribution in the welfare and 25% for the capital addition. The same way, department name has been changed, Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. Whatever earning we are making from the disinvestment, you have to make the inclusion. You have to use that earning for the public asset management in order to establish the efficiency in the economy, in order to make the contribution in the country. That is what which has been taken into the processor. Getting my point? So these are the parameters. I am just going to give the parameters for the liberal approaches, what we have to think about. Ease of doing business, setting a business. First main objective is to set the business. In order to make, you need to have the idea what business you have to make the establishment. Would you be able to get the construction permit? This is the major roadblock, you would say. This is the major hurdle which is coming in the way to get the permit for the construction. Next, electricity, infrastructure problem, and registering the property, getting the like if you are getting the permit, then you can think about the infrastructure. That infrastructure, registering the property. Yes, you have already acquired the property. If you would be liable to get loan out of the segment or out of the need that you have to start the business. You would require credit facility. Protecting the minority investors. Minority investors, you can consider here regarding the mutual fund and other investors, whosoever is making investment in portfolio and all. So we were going so bad in this criteria. I can just let you know about it. And paying the taxes, you have to make payment wherever business is making expansion or you're starting the base for the businesses. You are liable to make contribution in the economy in the name of tax. Trading, you need to ease the norms for the trading, at least in your own country. In your country. Good morning, Mridul. No worries, you can just watch the recorded the video. Enforcing the contracts where we are running so bad in it. These are the whatever things, whatever steps which are related to, the legal mandates. Legal mandates, we were going so bad in it. We are so bad in NPA, non-performing assets, resolving the insolvency. Due to this reason, minority investors are under the uncertainty. Enforcing contracts and the permits are going so worse in our country. Though we have attained 63rd rank in 2019. Okay, after that it has not been implemented so far due to some mismanagement under the segment. Which organization get released the report for ease of doing business? You just have to give the comment for the same. These are the pointers starting the business. For that reason, you need to have location. I have told you about the parameters. In order to start the business, you need to have the permits for the location so that you can get the finance. And if you are getting the finance, dealing with the day-to-day affair like taxes and the transportation, border-to-border trade I am talking about, and operating in the sector environment, business environment. These are the basic perspective which is just encouraging the businessman to go ahead. These are the industrialized generation. These were the points, ease of doing were the points to make the exploration in the industrial side. This is the first, mechanization, water power, steam power. Second is all about mass assembling and the electricity. You have changed the medium. And third generation, it was all about computer and automation. And fourth is all about cyber interconnectivity. And 5G is all about seen to be bigger and a better version. Better version where artificial intelligence and Internet of Things are included under it. Okay, these are the basic perceptions you need to know about the industrial. Last glance was for the current update. You need to be aware about the ease of doing business, the way I have made the connection, the way I have given the explanation for the connectivity, for the solution in this way. This was the approach and analysis you can make for the current scenario, that research and development should be taken place. Number 2, how can it make the contribution? You can just listen it in the recorded video again. And it is giving a kind of glance for the analysis. How can you make the things upgraded? Interconnectivity is the base for every single sector for the entire economy. The more interconnectivity would be there in economy, the more contribution would be there in the Indian economy. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day to all of you. Class will get started at 9 to 10 regularly, and 12 to 1 session is for DNA. Please do not miss the session DNA, because this is going to give current update for you and make you the comfortable regarding the economic subject. Thank you so much. Have a great day to all of you.